Welcome to the Leading Owls podcast, brought to you by Rice University's Doerr Institute for New Leaders. Each week, we bring you inspiring stories and practical tips from successful student leaders, faculty, and staff, along with leadership experts and coaches that will help guide you in your own leadership journey. Today, we're sitting down with Lynn-Chi, president of Baker College at Rice University, to get an inside look at what it takes to lead one of Rice's oldest residential colleges. From stepping into leadership for the first time to managing campus-wide initiatives, Lynn-Chi shares her path to leadership, the challenges and successes of being Baker College president, and advice for students looking to get involved. We'll also talk about exciting initiatives happening at Baker, how college government actually works behind the scenes, and top tips for incoming first-year students. If you've ever thought about running for a leadership position at Rice, or just want to know how decisions get made at the college level, this episode is for you. Please welcome Lynn-Chi. Hi, Lynn-Chi. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Can you just give us like a little rundown on who you are, your role, your college, your year, and just some of the things you've been involved in at Rice?
Yeah, of course. So my name is Lynn-Chi. I am currently a senior here at Rice. I'm majoring in health sciences and minor in medical humanities. I'm also pre-med. And right now, I currently serve as the president of Baker College, one of our 11 residential colleges. But here at Rice, my main involvements have mainly been through Baker government, which I just previously mentioned. I've also been involved in different other capacities throughout Rice. So I was also previously an OE coordinator, which has been really fun. And then finally, I think one of my biggest passions on campus is I run a club called Patient Discharge Initiative, where we go into hospitals around Houston, or mainly Ben Taub, which serves mainly underserved communities. And we go in and help their discharge process and give them like different social and financial resources.
That's awesome. As usual, I am always blown away by how much you Rice students can get done. And it's just amazing what you can do just in addition to your regular coursework, which is incredibly challenging on its own.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a little challenging, but I feel like there's really good support systems here at Rice. For example, even my friends and my professors, people really push you to be the best person that you can be. And I honestly wouldn't have gotten involved with all these things if it weren't for the Rice community. So I'm really, really grateful.
So share a bit about your path to leadership at Rice. Like, where did you start? What was your first thing?
I'm not gonna lie, like my freshman year, I think my main focus was to really adjust to college. I think people kind of get the misconception like, oh, you should like hop in right when you get to Rice. And if anything, I think it's really good to, like solidify your social circles, really get comfortable with academics and everything. I think my first thing that I did was I actually used to be part of the honor council on campus. I think that was one of my first real involvement. I'm no longer part of it, but I was part of it for a few years, and it was really impactful to give back to Rice in more of like, not in a more direct way, but, helping with their processes of like how to support the student body. But that was kind of like my main involvement my freshman year. And then, of course, I joined PDI, which is the club mentioned earlier. And that was really, really fun. I got to like volunteer, do my weekly volunteer shifts. But I think like my first real leadership role at Rice was my freshman year. I was like, oh, I like love Baker, like it was really fun. I wasn't super duper involved my first semester, but my second semester, I was like, you know what? I kind of like take a step up. So we had like our elections for the next year, and all my friends were like, oh my goodness, you should run for secretary. Like you love writing emails, you love organizing, it'd be a good fit. So I was like, oh my God, that's perfect. Like I can, color code emails. It's going to be a fun time. But I think little did I know that kind of started my path through Baker and my residential college, because I ended up loving it. Like I think what's really great about the residential college system is you can make any position how you want it. I remember the president at the time really gave me a lot of autonomy to do what I wanted. I remodeled the entire website. I like changed how we did different communication methods. And I was like, okay, I kind of like the residential college system because I can kind of take it wherever I want to. And then from there, I went through different positions. So then the following year, I was external vice president. So I was in charge of all of our community service efforts, our external communications. I did space reservations and equipment rentals and all that. And then finally, of course, I'm here as president of my college, which I think if you knew me freshman year, I would have never, I don't think those words would have ever came out of my mouth. I'm going to be honest, because I was like very, very like shy and introverted. But I think that's the beauty of Rice. As you go through time, the people here are so amazing. You really gain the confidence to do the things that you want to do.
What advice would you give to students stepping into leadership roles at Rice for the first time, like, coming up the spring when we're doing elections? Like, what advice would you give them?
Oh, that's a really good question. I would say don't be afraid to start small. It's totally fine to be a freshman and just be a member or something. But also, like, even when you run for positions and you might not get it, it's going to hurt at first. But, that's the whole point is like you learn. You can't really learn without failing. That's the point. Like, I've definitely have applied for positions or internships or just like different things around campus. And I'm like, oh, I wish I would have gotten that. But also I look back and I'm like, okay, I've learned so much about myself as to like how to become a better leader or a better person or a better applicant. And we're even like right now, even going through an interview. So, obviously like obstacles are going to be in your way sometimes, but don't give up. And then also sometimes my life motto is rejection is redirection. Even if some things don't work out, there's always going to be something that you're really going to love and that you're really going to be like, oh, I'm glad like this happened to me.
I have actually never heard it said that way. Rejection is redirection. I love that.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
What has been the best part about being Baker College president?
I feel like a residential college president is such an open role. There's no really clear job description. You can kind of do what you want with it, which is like obviously a double-edged sword. But I think it's really good because a lot of people kind of see you as this person that they can trust. So like, I think I'm really flattered when people go up to me like, okay, like what is your thoughts? Like, what are your opinions? What advice would you have? And of course, like being in cabinet, which is what we call our student government for so long, I can kind of have like the institutional knowledge to be like, I think that's like, maybe we tweak this idea, or maybe I'm like, oh my God, that's a great idea. So I think my favorite part is inspiring the people in my college to, of course, take on leadership roles, but also make their ideas come to life. Because at the end of the day, like I'm not doing everything at my college. My main role is to make sure everything gets managed, but it's really important for me to kind of like empower, for example, my cabinet members or like any member of my college to come to me and be like, I have this idea. Lynn-Chi's going to help me make it happen. So I think that's probably my favorite part.
What is one challenge that you faced in this role and how did you overcome it?
Initially, the biggest thing was people always say being a college president is a lot of work. And I had been in roles before where it was a lot of work. So I was like, okay, I feel like I've had experience in this. But then I got to the role and they're more than right. Like the volume as work is what it is. Like you have like X amount of meetings a week. And of course you have to know how to communicate well and like talk to adults and talk to administrators. But I think one of the things that really caught me off by surprise is the job is so dynamic. There's a problem that comes and it's a really big problem at your college. Like you kind of just have to drop everything and go fix it. Even if you have an exam the next day, even if say you're like getting lunch with a friend and someone calls you like this is happening, kind of have to like put everything down. So I'd say that is a big challenge, but I would also say kind of like, I guess shifting the conversation a little bit, how important it is to kind of balance work and life. I think one thing I really learned this year was how important it is to prioritize your mental health. And I know a lot of the college presidents can relate with that as well, but you can't be your fullest or you can't be your best person if you don't take care of yourself, be through your physical health, like going to the rec and eating healthy, but even just like being okay to say no to things and having boundaries.
Yeah, definitely. As president, I imagine you have to have a lot of boundaries.
Yeah.
What's something exciting, either an event or an initiative that's coming up for Baker this semester?
Yes, I feel like we have a lot of exciting things. So Baker's obviously like the oldest college, right? Which means we have a lot of older spaces, which is sometimes it's really charming, but sometimes like a table will fall apart or like some things will go missing. So what I've been really impressed this semester is we have focus groups for different spaces that Bakerites can sign up for. And if they're passionate about it, they're just like, okay, they're going to go through the space and really analyze and see what needs to be improved. Because I feel like over the years, there's been a lot of talk like, oh, this space needs fixing, this space needs fixing, but there weren't any like concrete actions to actually do the fixing. So hopefully with these focus groups, and we had a greater emphasis on how to better use like donor money in order to update these older spaces and make them more usable, because we do have more limited communal spaces compared to a lot of other colleges. But I think a main part of that is because they're not as visually appealing as we want them to be. So hopefully working with H&D and different campus partners to make that happen, I think I'm really excited for that.
What is an improvement or change or initiative that you did in the fall that you're proud of?
This one's, I don't know if it's as, I guess, like big or as impactful as if you were from Baker, but we always complain about not having enough water fountains, like water bottle fillers. So we've been complaining about that since like probably my freshman year, like nonstop. And I think I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to call H&D. Like another one of my life mottos is the worst they could say is no. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to ask them. And And they ended up like paying for them. Now we have one on every floor. I think we added like 5 or 6. Like one building doesn't even have a water bottle filler at all. They have one now. There's one on each floor of like the new wing off of Inner Loop, which is awesome. But I think another thing that I'm really proud of from the fall has to be the way we structure meetings. I feel like before it was mainly announcements. I did this. Whereas like now we have like cabinet meetings, but we also have pre-cabinet meetings, which are on like before, of course, like cab. And I'm really happy because I feel like everyone's part of the conversation. It's more discussion based. We get a lot done, very, very productive. And I think it's a good way to get feedback. So, obviously like I make important decisions, but it makes me feel better that more people can have a say in their perspectives in them. So I'm really glad that has transformed from an announcement, get through this as fast as we can, to like everyone wants to be there and everyone really feels like they have a voice and they can be heard.
Both sound incredible. I mean, the water fountain, even though it's more utilitarian, like just walking by and seeing it probably brings you a lot of joy.
Yeah, no, they put like lights behind it and everyone is like, oh my God, you should like make it the Lynn-Chi fountain. I'm like, no, it's okay. But it does make me really happy. It's like something that, I don't know, I feel like we always think about like fun things that we could be doing at our colleges, but I think it's also really important to have like very functional things that can like last for years as well.
Yeah, I love that. What is one thing most people don't know about how college government works?
I would say probably how much logistics go into planning. I think, of course, when you get an email that says, okay, Spirit Friday on Friday, you're like, yeah, like food and drinks and da-da-da. But people don't understand that like a group of people had to sit down, figure out how many drinks, how much food, where to have the events, to reserve the like space, to also like who's going to Costco for this. I wish people knew how much work, but also like love and thought and intention that people put into these events. Because obviously, like I've been on the other side before of being a freshman, going to these events, like, oh, like I wish there was like this drink and blah, blah, blah. Whereas like now, I think being on the other side of it, I'm like, okay, these people are putting so much work in. They're volunteering their time. Like no one's getting paid for this. Everyone's doing this because they love their college. And so I wish people knew that a lot of people are responsible for putting this college together. It's not just me. It's not just my VPs. It's like every single person has a role.
I know. People don't realize how much work can go into even a small event.
Right.
Can you walk us through what the election process is like at Baker? It's coming up this March, right?
Yeah, so our elections are a little earlier than the other colleges. It's around like February. But essentially, we have parliamentarians who manage all of our elections. We have 2 of them. And essentially, we have 3 rounds. So first round is president. Second round are our VPs and our class reps. I think our socials. And then our third round are, I believe, like we have like this thing called like BGHS, which is like they literally just take out people to go get food. So like more like fun positions like that are in the third round. But essentially, our parliamentarians will send emails out saying like, okay, you need to submit your petition by like this day. And your petition's basically this like piece of paper where you have to get like X amount of signatures based on what you're running for. And then you also have to submit a blurb to the college. It's usually a paragraph of like why you're running, your platform and whatnot. And then that's submitted and like sent out to the college. And then typically like the day after that's due, you have like your speeches. So it's really funny because at Baker, we have these like huge wooden like commons tables. So when you give a speech, you have to stand at the front on the table in front of everyone with the mic. And it's usually during dinner time. So there's people from other colleges there as well. And I remember like when I gave my speech last year for the president's speech, like comments was like packed. Every chair is taken. Like people come to these. So it's like very nerve wracking because I don't know about anyone else. Public speaking really like scares me, which is pretty like silly because I don't know. I feel like I do a lot of public speaking, but like just like the regular person, I get really anxious sometimes.
Of all your peers of your college, that's pretty intimidating.
I know. It's really scary because you're also standing on a table as well. It's not like you're at a podium. Like I know other colleges do like, oh, you're just at a podium. No. And the speaker is like on max volume. Like everyone can hear you. And then you give your speech. It's usually like 3 to 5 minutes. And then all the other candidates do as well. And then they're also recorded. So if you can't make it, you can also watch it then. And then I think the ballot's open for a few days and then you vote. And then of course there's like the announcement process and everything, but that's usually how it goes. And that happens 3 times over for each round. So it happens like 1 week and then a second week and then the third week.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
That is incredible. Does everybody make a speech who's running for like the round one position, or is it everybody makes a speech?
Everybody makes a speech. I think there was a really big emphasis on speeches at Baker because we don't really have like a Q&A or a debate process. But I think it's a very traditional and Baker thing. It's just like everyone will always remember like having to climb onto the table and like getting up there and like saying, hi, everyone. And I feel like even if you're very well versed in public speaking, like nothing will beat a Baker Commons table speech.
What advice would you give to students who are interested in running for a Baker position, or if they're in another residential college, like for their college position?
I would probably say like these positions do take a lot of time. So really just like think about if this is something that you want to do. Sometimes, your involvement I know my friends who love Baker, but they're like, I don't know if I had the time to commit fully to a position. I'll just be a committee member. And they're really happy and do a lot with that. So you can always get involved in different ways. But I would probably say like really think about why you're running and the changes you want to see. I think the most successful candidates typically have very concrete, but also realistic ideas. For example, like if you're running for a food rep, saying you're going to change the entire menu is probably unrealistic, right? But having smaller changes that you can do and meet with people, I think is really good. Also, like gauging your audience, seeing like what they want to see. Because of course you have your personal opinions, but at the end of the day, you're an elective official. Like people, have their opinions. You want to also make them feel heard. And then also it's really important to just like connect with the people that are voting for you. Like for me, I love the people at Baker. So it was really important for me to like be friends with them. So obviously, people always say like networking, but it's so important, like you can't really make change, or it's really hard for people to like approach you or like trust you if you don't like take the time to like, of course, like hang out with them or just like genuinely be really good friends with them.
I love that you brought up the fact that you're an elected official. And I think that that gets lost because you get so excited about your ideas and things that you want to do. And then through the elections process, you come up with your goals and you forget that purpose is for you to represent the people who voted for you.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Listening is a real key leadership skill that I think gets lost sometimes.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
So the fall incoming class has been getting their acceptances and they'll be here before we know it. What is a top tip for the incoming class on how to get the most out of Rice?
Don't be afraid to take Rice slow at first. I think when you go into a school with a lot of high achieving people, at least for me, I got really intimidated and was like, oh my God, I have to do everything, join every club, like do the whole 9 yards. It's really okay to join one club. It's really okay to like take it really easy, not take a full course load your first semester. I remember I took like every STEM, pre-med, pre-reg my first semester, and like I still am traumatized by that. Like I learned a lot, but like adjusting to college socially and academically, that was a lot at once. You don't have to do everything that everyone else is doing. I remember I did that because everyone else around me was doing it. But again, it's okay to say no and have your boundaries. I would also say, obviously school is really important, but make sure you take the time to like have a good social circle and have a good support system, because Rice is a very collaborative atmosphere and it's also really hard as well. So having the right people around you to support you and making sure that you like feel very like loved and heard all the time. Like I'm very grateful for the people in my life, especially at Baker, of course. I wouldn't have gotten through Rice if it weren't for them. So prioritize your like well-being, whether it be like your relationships, but also learn to like take it easy and not overwhelm yourself.
That is really great advice. And I feel like I have heard that from a lot of Rice students is like, just take it slow, because typically Rice students come in and they want to do everything.
Right.
And slowing down is something that they have to be intentional about. Since you were an O Week Cord, what is your advice for the new students coming into O Week? And what is a piece of advice for the O Week Cords who, just got announced?
I think the beauty of O Week is you're in these O Week groups that you don't really, it's like kind of basically randomized. Obviously, there's like you're paired with an advisor who's your major or whatnot. But I think what I usually tell new students is like, don't be afraid to talk to people who you even think might not be like, I guess, your friend or your best friend. You know what I mean? I feel like your residential colleges are made of such amazing people, whether they're similar to you or they're not. Even yesterday, I went to a senior event because we have like senior syllabus week this week. And I went to an event and I was talking to people that like aren't in my like friend group per se, but they're amazing, inspiring people. Don't be afraid to go out of your box. Even for me, I was really introverted going into Rice. I remember O Week, I was super duper shy, but it's really important to like make the intention to get to know people that are outside of your social circle, because at the end of the day, like Rice is made up of such inspiring people. You don't want to miss out on like talking to them like years down the road. And then for O Week Cords, being an O Week Cord had to be like one of my most favorite things I've done at Rice. Like, it truly was so much fun. It like truly taught me so much about leadership. I think it was one of the hardest things I've done, but it's also one of the most rewarding. I would probably say that sometimes as an OE coord, you can kind of get tunnel visioned in all the details. Like, you're like, oh, I wish we would have put this out during this event, or like we would have done this during the selection process. That's of course important, but I think at the end of the day, like, my biggest piece of advice is really being flexible. I'm a very technical, type A person, but this role really requires you to take a step back and be like, you know what, everything's going to be okay. It's meant to go the way it's supposed to. But also what Araceli, who's now the director of FYP, would always tell us, her last piece of advice before we go into OE was, she always said, take a step back, take it all in. Because at the end of the day, you putting out, say, you're making an event and you forgot to take the cooler out, is not as important as you taking a step back and realizing all of these new students are here and they're here for a reason. They're so excited, and they're excited to make friends and see their advisors and everything. So take a step back and really appreciate what's around you, because you've done a lot of work. You know what I mean? Don't think your work is useless just because of one mistake or one thing that you messed up. You know what? The new students, just look at their smiles and how happy they are, and you should be satisfied. So yeah, I would say just be really grateful and appreciative.
That's such good advice. It goes by so quick.
Mm-hmm. It does.
To end our interview, I have a couple rapid fire questions. Okay, you ready?
Okay.
What's your favorite Baker College tradition?
Oh, it has to be Baker Christmas. So a few years ago, there was a bakerite who just really, really liked Christmas. He would always talk about it nonstop. And so as a joke, I think his birthday is around September, which is when we celebrate it. All of Baker threw him this huge Christmas themed party. And every year it's just lived on since then, but now it's kind of transformed. So for a week, we celebrate Christmas. We have gingerbread house making, we have stocking decorating, we have hot chocolate nights. We just celebrate Christmas all throughout the week in September. And then Friday we have, it used to be our public or Rice-wide party, but now it's just a Baker private party where it's Baker Christmas. So we all get dressed up in Christmas gear and Santa hats and stuff. And then we just spend time with each other. But it's sunshine and rainbows that week. I love it. It's so much fun.
I love it. What's one word to describe your experience at Rice?
Did you say one word?
Yeah.
Unforgettable.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
What's your go-to study spot at Rice?
Brockstein.
Best meal you've had at the Baker Servery?
Ooh, I think they always have really good tacos on Tuesdays.
If you could change one thing about campus life, what would it be? This doesn't have to be one word.
I would say have more communal spaces, because I feel obviously I love my college, but also it's really important to have intercollegiate interactions. And it's a little hard when those spaces aren't available. But I would say that.
That's actually a great thing. And you don't have to save water fountains because you fixed that.
Yes, I agree, because we fixed that.
What's your go-to drink at Chouse?
I get a double shot honeysuckle.
That sounds good.
Mm-hmm. It's really good.
Well, thank you so much for joining us and sharing all of your wisdom and your experience, and makes me even more excited for the spring semester and for elections and all the new leaders who are coming in, following in your amazing footsteps.
All right. Thank you so much for having me. I loved being here, and I hope you have a good day.
Thank you for joining us for the Leading Owls podcast. We will be back next week with more leadership journeys and tips to share. New episodes release each Wednesday. For more information on the Doerr Institute for New Leaders and our free leader development programs for Rice students, please visit doerr.rice.edu.